Chapter 4. A Dangerous Pull. Elliot tried to convince himself that the moment in the library meant nothing. Kyle had only stepped in because he hated weakness, not because he cared. That was the truth he clung to. And yet, no matter how often he repeated it, his mind replayed the scene over and over. The weight of Kyle's presence, the notebook pressed back into his hands, the way Kyle's smirk lingered as if he knew a secret Elliot did not. Days passed, but Kyle didn't fade into the background. If anything, he seemed to seek Elliot out more often. At lunch, Kyle would slide into the seat across from him uninvited, his towering figure dwarfing Elliot's slight frame. "You eat like a rabbit," Kyle remarked one afternoon, eyeing Elliot's modest meal of rice and vegetables. "No wonder you're so fragile." Elliot flushed, pushing the tray closer to himself. "I don't need much." Kyle leaned forward, his gaze sharp but playful. "Or maybe you just like being breakable. Makes it easier for people to take care of you." The comment sent heat rushing to Elliot's cheeks. He wanted to argue, but Kyle's tone wasn't cruel. It was teasing, almost curious, and against his will, a part of Elliot thrilled at the attention. Another time, when Elliot's pen slipped from his hand in class and rolled across the floor, Kyle retrieved it before he could. Instead of simply handing it back, Kyle twirled it between his fingers, holding it just out of reach. "You really can't go a day without dropping something, can you?" Kyle said, eyes glinting. Elliot stretched for the pen, his voice quiet but firm. "Give it back." Kyle smirked, finally placing it in his palm. Their fingers brushed, brief, electric, and Elliot's stomach tightened. He told himself it was only irritation, but the truth burned hotter, hidden beneath layers of denial. The confusion only deepened one rainy afternoon. Elliot had forgotten his umbrella. La-and was huddled beneath the awning outside the campus gates, watching sheets of water cascade from the sky. He was debating whether to run when a car pulled up, the window lowered, revealing Kyle behind the wheel. "You'll catch a cold standing there," Kyle said simply. Elliot blinked, unsure how to respond. "Get in," Kyle ordered. Elliot hesitated. Accepting meant stepping willingly into Kyle's world, a dangerous, suffocating world he had sworn to avoid. But the rain was relentless, and Kyle's gaze left no room for refusal. Slowly, he slid into the passenger seat, his heart hammering. The car smelled faintly of leather and Kyle's cologne, heady and overwhelming. For a long stretch of silence, Elliot stared out the window, watching droplets race each other down the glass. "Why do you always look like you're waiting to be rescued?" Kyle asked suddenly. Elliot turned, startled. "I'm not." "Yes, you are." Kyle's tone was soft now, stripped of mockery. "It's like you're always bracing for something bad, always shrinking. Makes me want to." He trailed off, jaw tightening. "Want to what?" Elliot whispered, his voice trembling. Kyle's eyes lingered on him, unreadable, before he looked away and restarted the car. "Never mind." Elliot's pulse refused to settle the entire ride home. He hated Kyle's arrogance, his cruelty, the way he played with people like toys. And yet, every stolen glance, every unexpected kindness drew him in like a moth to flame. The pull was dangerous, but Elliot was already caught in its gravity. Chapter 5. Confession in Shadows. The days grew heavier with unspoken tension. Elliot found himself scanning every hallway for Kyle's broad silhouette, every classroom for the glint of his sharp eyes. It wasn't fear alone anymore, though fear remained constant as breath. Something else had crept in, fragile and dangerous. Longing. He hated himself for it. It was late one evening when Elliot's resolve finally broke. He had stayed behind after class to finish copying notes when he realized Kyle was waiting at the door. Leaning casually against the frame, arms crossed, Kyle looked as if he had been there a while. "What are you doing?" Elliot asked, voice soft, his pen still trembling in his hand. "Watching you," Kyle answered without hesitation. "You work too hard. No one notices but me." Elliot's heart stuttered. Why do you care?" Kyle's smirk tilted, but his eyes didn't waver. "Maybe I like the way you look when you're focused." The words stole Elliot's breath. He couldn't look away, couldn't steady his hands. He wanted to deny it, to laugh it off as another cruel trick, but the sincerity in Kyle's tone unsettled him more than any insult could. Before he could stop himself, the words spilled out. I like you." Silence crashed between them. Elliot's cheeks cheeks flamed as he stared at the desk, every nerve screaming regret. His chest ached with humiliation. What had he done? Kyle moved then, slow but certain, closing the space between them until Elior could feel the heat of his presence. A finger tilted his chin upward, forcing him to meet Kyle's gaze. You like me? Kyle repeated, voice low. Elior's throat tightened. Yes, he whispered so faintly it was almost lost to the air. Even though I shouldn't, even though you're cruel, I can't stop thinking about you. Kyle's eyes darkened, not with anger but something far more dangerous. For a moment Elior expected laughter, mockery, rejection. Instead, Kyle leaned closer, lips brushing the shell of Elior's ear. Good, he murmured, because I like you too. Elior's breath hitched, disbelief flooding him. You do? Kyle pulled back just enough to smirk. Of course I do. You're beautiful, Elior. Too beautiful for your own good. His hand slid to Elior's wrist, firm but not bruising this time. But this stays between us. No one else can know. The warmth in Elior's chest twisted into something sharper. Why? Why hide it? Because they wouldn't understand, Kyle said simply. Because you're mine, and I don't want anyone else looking at you the way I do. His words were both promise and warning, and Elior felt himself trapped in the middle, terrified yet impossibly drawn in. Kyle's thumb brushed lightly against the inside of his wrist, sending shivers down Elior's spine. Then, with a suddenness that stole the air, Kyle pressed a brief, claiming kiss to his lips. It was quick, almost careless, but it left Elior trembling, his heart hammering so hard it hurt. By the time Kyle pulled away, Elior knew the truth. He was no longer just the boy who hated Kyle. He was the boy who belonged to him. Chapter 7, Hidden Chains. From the moment Kyle accepted Elior's confession, the rules of their relationship were carved in stone, and they were Kyle's rules alone. No one can know about us, Kyle had said, his voice edged with command. Not your friends, not your classmates. If you tell anyone, it's over. Elior had nodded, his throat tight, though every part of him wanted to shout his happiness to the world. He imagined what it would feel like to walk down the corridor hand in hand, to sit together at lunch without shame. But instead, he became Kyle's secret, a treasure hidden away, not because he was precious, but because Kyle wanted to control every piece of him. At college, the cruelty continued. Kyle mocked him more viciously than before, shoving his books out of his hands, sneering about his clothes, and laughing when others joined in. To everyone watching, Elior was just another victim of Kyle's bullying. They didn't see what happened once the doors closed, once the world fell away. In the cramped safety of Elior's shabby apartment, Kyle transformed. His insults softened into possessive whispers. His hands, so quick to shove in public, became rough caresses in private. He kissed Elior with bruising intensity, as though he wanted to devour him, and Elior let him. Because in those moments, Kyle belonged only to him. Don't look at anyone else, Kyle would murmur, pressing his lips against Elior's neck. You're mine. Do you understand? Yes, Elior whispered, every time, but the sweetness was always laced with poison. Kyle wrinkled his nose at the small apartment, tossing his expensive jacket over a chair with disdain. How do you live here? It's disgusting. Do you even clean? His voice carried the kind of cruelty that didn't shout but cut deeper, slow and deliberate. Elior stood quietly, his heart trembling. Each insult was a blade, each sneer a reminder of the distance between them. He wanted to defend himself, to say, this is the best my parents could afford. This is my home. But the words never left his lips. Sometimes, Kyle would throw money onto the table, notes folded carelessly, as though they meant nothing. Buy something decent to wear. Stop looking like a beggar. Elior would stare at the money as though it were fire. His pride ached, but his heart whispered that maybe this too was love. Maybe Kyle wanted him to look beautiful. Maybe this was his way of caring. So Elior tucked the money away and tried not to cry when Kyle wasn't looking. The contradiction tore at him. By day, Kyle humiliated him. By night, he whispered possession. Elior told himself this was only temporary, that Kyle's harshness was a shield, that deep down he must care. After all, why else would he come back again and again to this tiny apartment, to Elior's arms? And yet, doubt grew in the quiet spaces of Elior's mind. When Kyle left in the morning, the sheets still warm where he had slept, Elior lay awake staring at the ceiling. His chest was heavy with the question he was too afraid to ask. If this is love, why does it hurt so much? But Elior swallowed the doubt, the pain, the fear, because Kyle had chosen him, and that, for now, was enough.